Accept your death.
Alright, Bonehawks, this video is all about Quan, and today we're ranking his matchups in 3 different categories. In the first category, we have 5-5, which I think is completely even. I think that, both characters have good options, and depending on who is the better player, is who wins that matchup. Next one is a 4-6, which I believe the opponent has a slight advantage over Quan. Nothing huge, but enough that Quan has to work a little bit harder and make all the right reads in order to kind of win the matches. And lastly, we have the 3-7s, which means that Quan has a quite severe disadvantage in these matchups, and they're kind of tough. So I'm just doing it by what you're seeing on the screen here, just in order. But yeah, this is just from my experience using Quan in the matchups that I've played, and you might notice I don't have him winning any matchups. I don't think Quan wins a single matchup in the game. I think even is as good as it gets. So that's my opinion. Let's get into it. Kung Lao, as you just saw in that Combat League set, if you were on Twitch. Not a terrible matchup. I think it's 5-5. Does have some pretty quick 2-hitting strings that can break our armor portal, be kind of annoying, but his neutral isn't the greatest, so it makes it a little bit easier for us to get our zoning game going. So, but of course, Kung Lao, decent damage. Kind of nerfed for no reason, I think. I feel like I'm not exactly sure why they took away the properties of Kung Lao's armor. I don't remember seeing anything particularly, overpowered with that or anything, but that's what they did, so. Garrus is a 5-5. Garrus Main agrees in the chat, so okay. Yeah, like I said, Motaro cameo kind of coming with him is kind of like a unfortunate thing, but also Garrus doesn't have the best down one either. So we're kind of playing the same game where both our pokes suck, so that kind of evens us out on that much. So that's my opinion on Garrus. From there we go to our first 4-6, which I think is Baraka. I think Baraka we have a slight disadvantage of. We can zone Baraka, but there are a lot of tools, especially with the cameos that Baraka players like to use, that can kind of skirt, a lot of the stuff that we use. And then, of course, once Baraka gets in, pressure, chip damage, all that kind of stuff. Kind of hard to get Baraka off you, but if we do a proper zoning game, Baraka doesn't have any sort of a teleport to move around. Blade charge is annoying, but I mean that's a big risk for Baraka, but I still think that given the damage Baraka can get, given our low health pool, that it's kind of tough for Quan. Not unwinnable by any means, like I said. If you have a good zoning game, get that going, I think you'll be good. But yeah, I think that that Baraka is probably a slight advantage for Baraka. Nothing crazy, just a slight advantage. From there, moving on to Ashra. I think Ashra is another 4-6. Decent range, good normals, decent damage. Just kind of does everything better than us. We can kind of zone her. Most of these matchups you're going to see is by me using Quan's strength, which is zoning. How easily can he zone? That's what he's kind of meant to do in this game. I know zoning kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think that Ashra is a little bit difficult, but not impossible. Ashra Movado is kind of dumb, by the way. That matchup is super duper good. Or that team, I mean. Johnny Cage, I actually have as 4-6 as well. At one point in time, I would have put him in the 3-7. But I feel like he's, with all the tools that we have, and even with things like the Serena meter build, it's a lot easier to keep him away from us than it was before. And Shadow Kick is still annoying, don't get me wrong. But I have this matchup as kind of, definitely advantage for Johnny because of our slow buttons and that kind of a thing. But given that they kind of dulled down his defense a little bit, so if there's some die-hard Quan mains out there that still want to put him in the 3-7s, then I definitely argue I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, but yeah, personally, from my experience, he feels quite a bit more manageable than it was before, especially with some of the buffs and stuff that we've got recently. So I think that Johnny Cage is a solid 4-6. Ermac is interesting because my experience with Shujinko kind of tells me that, like, we have tools to kind of hold our own, and once you kind of be understanding Ermac's normals and strings, he doesn't really feel that scary. He can hit like a truck with Janet, don't get me wrong. I've definitely seen that before, but it's just not that scary to me, in my experience anyways. I have him as a 5-5. The cancels are annoying, but nothing is inherently plus. He has big hitboxes, so you got to be aware of that. But yeah, I think that 5-5 feels kind of fair. Ermac mains can tell me what they think. Homelander, I also have as 5-5. Before he got that low nerfed, it was definitely a 4-6, maybe even a 3-7. I don't know if it was ever that bad. The thing is, you can kind of zone Homelander. Like, as long as you use your proper projectiles, it's really hard for him to kind of move around the screen. And his anti-zoning tools are not the greatest. He has the dash, but I mean, you know, push-away portal actually works quite well against that, unless he does it like right at the height of his flight, which I don't see a lot of Homelanders doing. So, that's Homelander. Thanks for the nerfs. Lee May, 5-5. Fairly easy to zone out. I think one of the characters that could be considered maybe on the same level as Quan, you know? Kind of a struggling character. Only a couple cameos to work with. Quan has a little bit more clear of a game plan, though, so... Liu Kang. Liu Kang is our first 3-7. This matchup is not very fun at all. His counter zoning is quite good. Usually comes along with Motaro. So you got that projectile reflect. Has the best strike throw in the game. And does pretty decent damage. Which is all things that Quan does not want to deal with. Liu Kang is a very annoying character. Blaze says, yeah, Liu is so annoying. Very annoying. Annoying is a good term, because it's just... Where's the weakness, bro? I'm sure there's lots of characters that feel that same way, but Quan being on the lower end of things definitely feels the pinch a bit more, so... Yeah, Liu, first 3-7. Melina is 4-6, and I say this because even though she has a lot of mobility, everything she does is a pretty big risk as far as those things go. So as long as you play a fairly tight game and don't leave yourself too open, and you have to understand the matchup as well, know the flawless blocks, know the up blocks, all that kind of stuff, I think it's not too unmanageable for Quan Chi. I still think we lose it because Melina, on top of having good mobility, also does really, really decent damage and has a variety of cameos. She doesn't really need cameos for damage, so she can kind of just pick different cameos based on countering you, which is like immediately like a disadvantage. So yeah, that's why I think Melina is 4-6. Doesn't quite fall into 7 or 3-7 territory because there are things in the matchup that you can do to negate some certain things. But she is a huge knowledge check. You definitely need to know the matchup when it comes to fighting her. Natara is a weird one. I have her at a 4-6, but she kind of like realistically probably dances this line a little bit because a lot of Natara players just throw stuff out. And she can, don't get me wrong, but we have a lot of air control with our projectiles and can kind of stop her from moving in. That being said, we're basically two-touched and we're dead. If she hits us with her combos with Farah or whatnot. So, slight advantage to her, plus the mobility. We have to make the reads on her. She doesn't necessarily need to make the reads on us. We just have to make sure we're covering the airways. That's about it there. Noob Cybot is one that I actually don't have a whole lot of experience with yet. My initial thoughts are about 5-5. But I hear some whisperings that Noob is like a top tier character, like top 3 kind of a thing. I don't know how that relates to fighting Quan. I haven't fought a whole lot of them, and the ones that I have seem to be pretty inexperienced. It feels pretty even to me, but I could be terribly wrong. I'm not saying this is like the definitive number for this matchup. Just throwing that out there. This one I'm not super duper comfortable with. Omni-Man feels pretty even. Omni-Man Kung Lao is really annoying. A little bit of counter zoning, a little bit of mix, a little bit of damage. But I find we can kind of handle him for the most part. There's nothing too crazy that he does that kind of makes us quiver in our little space booties, you know? I think he's He's fairly okay. Peacemaker. Now, I used to think at one point after Peacemaker got nerfed that this was a winning matchup for us, but since then I've played some more Peacemakers, and no, it's still even. After the nerfs, Peacemaker can't be as dominant as he was before, but is still super annoying with a lot of different things, especially pressure and Quan's slow buttons. Definitely not the menace that he was before. But yeah, Quan obviously 5/5, cameo dependent. Raiden 4/6, just so much safety. Like Raiden in the actual hands doesn't have to take like any risks. We can zone him a little bit there. Rain is 5/5. Another one that I thought was kind of like I don't know, a winning matchup for us initially, but the more Rain I play, those cancels are super annoying. A good Rain will mix in all sorts of things. Kind of annoying in my opinion, but not to the point. We can still zone him out, and it seems like Rain's kind of trying to be a zoner as well, so like we just do it better. And then we do have the armor portal when he does get up close if we want to, so that matchup feels 5/5. Katana is another like border one, like bordering between 4/6 and 3/7. I kind of have it on the 3/7 just from my personal experience against my teammate Retro. I think I've won maybe like 3 games with Quan against Katana. She just hits so hard. She's got great buttons, great combo strings, good counter zoning, big setups. They did nerf her setups a little bit. She can't break armor with grabs anymore, but there are other ways for her to do that. She doesn't need to use that. But against Quan, it's really oppressive. So, 3/7. Havoc, same idea. 3/7. This is a character that I'm pretty sure at one point in time I had as like a winning matchup, and now 3/7. I can't believe this character went through that last patch unscathed. Like, the things that Havoc is doing are ridiculous. And poor Quan just can't keep up. Maybe can zone a little bit, but a lot of the times you'll see Havoc with Sub-Zero, and then it's kind of like, not that that's like 100% negate zoning, but he's just going to mosey on in. So, and then hit us with like 100% damage setup. Reiko feels 5/5 to me. We can zone him fairly easily when he gets in. It's guess again, bro. Low overhead grab. Not much else to say about that. Standard zoner versus grappler kind of a thing. Advantage at both ends, depending on where you are on the screen. Reiko having the shurikens is really annoying, but we have ways around that. And of course, Big Chompy is a good friend. Standing 4, down forward, +4 is really good. Kind of counter him, so. Reptile 4/6 for sure. Can challenge our zoning by putting out like the slow moving force balls, kind of force us to slow things down and be aware of where we're doing. We have the teleports. He has the invisibility, visible mix-ups, visible 50/50s. They're super duper annoying. So yeah, we do have some options against him, but I don't think it's as bad as like Havoc, Liu Kang, or Katana, but it's definitely not in our favor anyways. Scorpion here, 4/6. I'm looking at this matchup chart and I'm actually thinking it's like not as bad as I thought it was going to be. A lot of even matchups. But yeah, Scorpion 4/6, obviously can't really zone all that well. Scorpion Pharah, really, really good. Back 3 into Pharah toss. Like 90% of the time it's the low Pharah, but you know, whatever. And then yeah, out damages us. Spear is a problem. Mid spear is a problem. Teleports. You gotta teleport pretty much instantly a 4/6 matchup. I'm gonna say the same thing about this next one too, Cyrax. So, I remember day 1, I probably had Cyrax as like 3/7, but once I kind of figured out delay wake up is a really, really good option against a lot of her setups. Not so bad. But she does a lot of damage and has a lot of ways to hit us. So, and open us up. And can read us if we do the delayed wake up. And always wins the trades. Can literally just throw the foam full screen. We do anything and it trades with it. Yeah, we lose. And we're going back into the blender. But doesn't feel dominant enough to have it any higher than that, I don't think. Sector 5-5. Having played this character, I can see that we're both trying to play the same zoning in a non-zoning game. So, like, the struggle is real. You know, we're just a couple of baddies going through it, trying to make it work. I will say Sector is a little bit more of an all-arounder, but I'd say it kind of evens us out because we're a little bit more of a harder zoner. Shang, I think we lose barely. Another one that would be kind of skirting right on the line here. I think just with all the different things Shang can do, and in theory, Shang could just force a mirror match in every situation, and then it's like instant 5-5. And now with the cameo steals as well, just has more tools than us. I think that we zone harder than him, but you know, at one point he's going to get in, and then there's some annoying mix-ups there. 23 frame overhead, quick ass low. So yeah, I think Shang probably beats us 4-6. General Shao, I have as a 5-5. I haven't seen a lot of Shao lately. I don't know if he like dropped off the planet or what, but definitely feels similar to Reiko, where you get in, you win, but I can zone you and you lose. So that's always kind of felt that way since day one. And he has some really good mix. He's really, really scary up close. But yeah, that's I think it's at the end of the day it's even. Sindel, another 3-7 matchup, just has everything. Counter zoning, doesn't have a teleport, doesn't really need one. When she gets in, her options against us are way, way better than anything that we could offer. Especially like Sindel Tremor. Have you seen that stuff lately? That's disgusting. It's disgusting. Alright, next is Smoke. Y'all know how I feel about this one. I think it's a 3-7. Now has multiple teleports. So like not even the one teleport, but like multiple teleports from each different way. Good pressure, and the pressure is amplified by the fact that our buttons are slow, and it's hard for us to challenge. So even though a lot of his cancels aren't real, he's got different options, and we can't always interrupt them. So definite 3-7 matchup, not to mention invisible mix-ups. Whoever thought that was a good thing in fighting games is kind of nutty, not gonna lie. Sub-Zero's 5-5. This was also a matchup that I had at one point being like a winning matchup, but they changed the hitbox on the clone, so now it's much harder to punish. Like before it was like just a standing 4 punish every single time, but now sometimes we'll lean into the clone, so you gotta be a little bit more wary about that. Mid-screen and off of certain setups it's a little bit easier, but I have no agreement with the Sub-Zero down players. I think this character is perfectly mid-tier. Yeah, I still don't really have it as winning. I think that Sub-Zero's toolkit keeps it pretty even, and like I said, with the Ice Clone buff in the hitbox, it does make his corner game kind of scary. So, although I get what you're saying, there's negates a lot of his tools, but I don't really see him using Deadly Vapors against anyone anyways, so maybe I'm playing the wrong subs, but that's just not my experience. Takeda's one where I feel like it's probably 4-6. Probably the second one on this list that I'm not 100% confident in this pick. I might have it as 5-5, but Takeda's range, just jumping around the screen and stuff, has a teleport on top of all of that, and damage. Yeah, Takeda's just... movement makes him kind of annoying. And the last matchup, which I honestly think is his worst matchup in the game right now, is Tanya. Tanya just destroys everything Quan wants to do, has an EX projectile that eats all of Quan's projectiles, like all of them. If you do the purple one, all 3 of them, eats it all. Stagger pressure is absolutely crazy, especially if you have like forward 2 into Montaro low. Really, really oppressive. The little low spinning dealie can just destroy Quan's armor, even if he does manage to get the armor portal up. So yeah, Tanya is an absolute nuisance for Quan. Very, very top of the 3-7 tier. I think that's currently Quan Chi's worst matchup. Funny how it's changed over time. So Kenshi, for some reason, got mixed up here. So Kenshi is definitely a 4-6. We can zone a little bit, but I don't know. He just runs at you with and projectile immune. So I mean, screw your zoning. And then once Sento comes out, then that's a whole different story. The other one that's missing here is Ghostface as well. And I don't have quite enough experience, but from what I've seen so far, it feels like a 4-6 slight advantage to Ghostface. Couple maneuvers around the screen that they can do to skirt our zoning, that kind of thing. I don't think that we are even against Ghostface, especially now with the Infinite, but that's a whole nother story, so... Yeah, thank you for that. I didn't realize that Kenshi was, like, for some reason stuck in the middle of the cameos. Is there anyone else stuck in here? I don't think so. No, I think that's it. And then, of course, Ghostface, so... So that's it. That's my current Quan Chi matchup chart. Let me know what you think. Anything you disagree on or fully agree on or whatnot. You know, comments and all that stuff are welcome. I'm not the definitive Quan player. I would say that's probably Broseph at this moment, or Enzo, so... yeah, take my list with a grain of salt, as I know enough about competitive play to make these calls, but I'm not the one out there performing the results anymore. It's a young man's game, and that's not me, so feedback is always appreciated.
Accept your death.